A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Marley was dead to begin with. There is no doubt whatever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it, and Scrooge's name was good upon change for anything he chose to put his hand to. Old Marley was as dead as a doornail.
Mind, I don't mean to say that I know, of my own knowledge, what there is particularly dead about a doornail. I might have been inclined, myself, to regard a coffin nail as the deadest piece of ironmongery in the trade. But the wisdom of our ancestors is in the simile, and my unhallowed hands shall not disturb it, or the country's done for. You will therefore permit me to repeat, emphatically, that Marley was as dead as a doornail.
Scrooge knew he was dead? Of course he did. Scrooge and Marley were partners for I don't know how many years. Scrooge was his sole executor, his sole legatee, his sole friend, and sole mourner. And even Scrooge was not so dreadfully cut up by the sad event. Oh, but he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, Scrooge. A squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner, hard and sharp as flint, from which no steel had ever struck out a generous fire. Yes.
Well.
Once upon a time, of all the good days in the year, on Christmas Eve, old Scrooge sat busy in his counting house.
God save you, Uncle.
Fred?
And a Merry Christmas to you.
Ah! Humbug.
You don't mean that, I am sure.
I do. Merry Christmas. Why, what reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough.
Come, then, what reason have you to be morose? You're rich enough.
Ah! Humbug.
Don't be cross, Uncle.
What else can I be when I live in such a world of fools as this? Merry Christmas. Out on Merry Christmas. What's Christmas time to you but a time for paying bills without money? A time for finding yourself a year older but not an hour richer? If I could work my will, every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled with his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly in his heart.
Uncle!
Nephew! Keep Christmas in your own way and let me keep it in mine.
Keep it, but you don't keep it.
Let me leave it alone then. Much good may it do you. Much good it has ever done you.
There are many things from which I might have derived good, by which I have not profited, I dare say, Christmas among the rest. But I have always thought of Christmas time as a good time, a kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time, the only time I know of in the year when men and women seem to open their shut-up hearts freely and to think of people below them as if they really were fellow passengers to the grave, and not another race of creatures bound on other journeys. And therefore, Uncle, though it has never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I believe that it has done me good, and will do me good, and I say, God bless it.
Here, 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 there.
Let me hear another sound from you, and you'll keep your Christmas by losing your situation.
I'm sorry, sir.
You're quite a powerful speaker, sir. I wonder you don't go into Parliament.
Don't be angry, Uncle. Come, dine with us tomorrow.
I'll see you in hell first.
But why? Why?
Why did you get married?
Because I fell in love.
Because you fell in love? Good afternoon.
Nay, Uncle, but you never came to see me before that happened. Why give it as a reason for not coming now?
Good afternoon.
I want nothing from you. I ask nothing of you. Why cannot we be friends?
Good afternoon.
I am sorry with all my heart to find you so resolute. We have never had any quarrel to which I have been a party, but I have made the trial homage to Christmas, and I'll keep my Christmas humor to the last. So, a Merry Christmas, Uncle.
Good afternoon.
And a Happy New Year.
Good afternoon.
A Merry Christmas to you.
Bob Cratchit, sir.
And a Happy New Year, Bob Cratchit.
Merry Christmas to you, sir. Merry Christmas.
Mr. Scrooge?
Mr. Marley?
Mr. Cratchit, step this way, please.
Thank you, my good man.
There's another fellow. My clerk, 15 shillings a week, wife and family, talking about a Merry Christmas. I'll retire to Bedlam.
Scrooge and Marley's, I believe.
Believe away.
Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?
Mr. Marley's been dead these 7 years. He died 7 years ago this very night.
We have no doubt his liberality is well represented by his surviving partner.
Liberality. Here it comes.
At this festive season of the year, Mr. Scrooge, it is more than usually desirable that we should make some slight provision for the poor and destitute who suffer greatly at the present time.
Are there no prisons?
Plenty of prisons.
And the union workhouses, are they still in operation?
They are. Still, I wish I could say they were not.
Oh, I was afraid from what you said at first that something had occurred to stop them in their useful course. I'm very glad to hear it.
Under the impression that they scarcely furnish Christian cheer of mind or body to the multitude, a few of us are endeavoring to raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink and means of warmth. What shall I put you down for?
Nothing.
Ah, you wish to be anonymous.
I wish to be left alone. I don't make merry myself at Christmas, and I can't afford to make idle people merry. I help to support the establishments I've mentioned. They cost enough, and those who are badly off must go there.
Mary can't go there, and Mary would rather die.
If they would rather die, they had better do it and decrease the surplus population.
We should depart, Winifred.
Merry Christmas, you poor soul.
Poor? Ha!
Merry
Christmas, Mr. Cratchit.
Merry Christmas.
Cratchit! Cratchit!
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir.
Why? What have you been up to?
Nothing, sir. I thought that I was...
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Saviour was born on Christmas Day.
Cease, you warbling miscreant, cease, or I'll take this ruler! Insufferable urchin. I suppose you'll want all day tomorrow.
If quite convenient, sir.
It's not convenient, and it's not fair. If I was to stop half a crown, you'd think yourself ill-used, I'll be bound.
Well...
And yet, you don't think me ill-used for paying a day's wages for no work?
It's only once a year, sir.
Poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December. But I suppose you must have the whole day. Be here all the earlier the next morning.
Yes, sir. I promise, sir. Merry Christmas.
Ah!
Sorry, sir.
Humbug.
Scrooge took his melancholy dinner in his usual melancholy tavern, and having beguiled the evening away in his bank book, went home to bed. He lived in chambers which had once belonged to his deceased partner. Now, it is a fact that there was nothing at all particular about the knocker on the door, except that it was very large. Then, let any man explain to me, if he can, how it happened that Scrooge, having his key in the lock of the door, saw in the knocker, not a knocker, but...
Marley's face!
It had a dismal light about it, like a bad lobster in a dark cellar. It was not angry or ferocious, but looked at Scrooge as Marley used to look. The eyes were wide open. They were perfectly motionless. That and its livid color made it horrible. As Scrooge looked fixedly at the phenomenon, it was a knocker again.
Humbug, I say.
Scrooge closed his door and double-locked himself in, which was not his custom. Thus secured against surprise, he took off his cravat, put on his dressing gown and slippers, and his nightcap, and sat down before the fire to take his gruel. His glance happened to rest upon a bell, a disused bell that hung in the room. It was with a strange, inexplicable dread that as he looked, he saw this bell begin to swing.
The bells were succeeded by a clanking noise, deep down below, as if some person were dragging a heavy chain over the casks in a wine merchant's cellar.
It's humbug still. I won't believe it.
Without a pause, it came on through the heavy door and passed into the room before his eyes. Marley, in his pigtail and waistcoat, tights and boots. The chain he drew was clasped around his middle. It was long and wound about him like a tail, and it was made of cash boxes, keys, padlocks, ledgers, deeds, and heavy purses wrought in steel.
Ebenezer Scrooge.
How now? What do you want with me?
Marge.
Who are you?
Ask me who I was.
Who were you then?
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley. You do not believe me?
I don't.
Why do you doubt your senses?
Because a little thing affects them. A slight disorder of the stomach makes them cheats. You might be an undigested bit of beef, a blot of mustard, a crumb of cheese, a fragment of an underdone potato. There's more of gravy than of grave about you, whatever you are. Humbug, I tell you. Humbug!
Man of the worldly mind, do you believe in me or not?
I do! I must! But why do you come to me?
It is required of every man that the spirit within him should walk amongst his fellow men. If that spirit does not go forth in life, it is condemned to do so after death. Ah!
You are fettered.
I wear the chain I forged in life. Is its pattern strange to you, or would you know the length and weight of the strong coil you bear yourself? It was as heavy and long as this 7 Christmas Eves ago. You have labored on it since. It is a ponderous chain.
Jacob. Old Jacob Marley. Tell me more. Speak comfort to me, Jacob.
I have none to give, nor can I tell you what I would. A very little more is permitted to me. In life, my spirit never roved beyond the limits of our money-changing hole. A weary journey lies before me. O captive, bound and double-ironed, not to know that no space of regret can make amends for one's life's opportunities misused. Yet, such was I. Oh, such was I.
But you were always a good man of business, Jacob.
Business? Mankind was my business. The common welfare was my business. Charity, mercy, benevolence, forbearance were all my business. The dealings of my trade were but a drop of water in the comprehensive ocean of my business. Oh, My time is nearly gone.
I will.
How it is that I appear before you in a shape that you can see, I cannot tell. But I have sat beside you invisible for many and many a day.
Oh, have you?
I am here to warn you. You have yet a chance and hope of escaping my fate. A chance and hope of my procuring, Ebenezer.
You were always a good friend to me. Thank you.
You will be haunted by 3 spirits.
Is that the chance and the hope that you mentioned, Jacob?
It is.
I think I'd rather not.
Without their visits, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first tomorrow night when the bell tolls 1.
Couldn't I take them all at once and have it over, Jacob?
Expect the second on the next night at the same hour. Expect the third on the third night when the stroke of midnight ceases to vibrate. Look to see me no more. And for your own sake, remember what has passed between us.
The apparition walked backward from him, and at every step it took, the window raised itself a little so that when the spectre reached it, it was wide open. It beckoned Scrooge to approach.
The spectre, after listening for a moment, joined in the mournful dirge and floated out upon the bleak, dark night. Scrooge looked out the window. The air was filled with phantoms. Every one of them wore chains like Marley's ghost. Some few, they might be guilty governments, were linked together. None were free. Many had been personally known to Scrooge in their lives. He had been quite familiar with one old ghost in a white waistcoat with a monstrous iron safe attached to its ankle, who cried piteously at being unable to assist a wretched woman with an infant whom it saw below upon a doorstep. The misery with them all was, clearly, that they sought to interfere, for good, in human matters, and had lost the power forever.
Being much in need of repose after such an evening as this, Scrooge went straight to bed without undressing, and fell asleep upon the instant. Light flashed up in the room upon the instant, and the curtains of his bed were drawn aside. It was a strange figure, like a child, yet not so like a child as like an old man. It held a branch of fresh green holly in its hand. And the strangest thing about it was that from the crown of its head there sprung a bright, clear jet of light, by which all of this was visible. It held under its arm a great extinguisher for a cap.
Are you the spirit, sir, whose coming was foretold to me?
I am.
Who and what are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Long past?
No, your past.
I see. What business brings you here tonight?
Your welfare.
I'm just fine, thank you. Now, if you'll excuse me,
Your reclamation, then. Take heed. Rise and walk with me here to the window.
But I am mortal, and am liable to fall.
Bear but a touch of my hand here upon your heart, and you shall be upheld in more than this.
As the words were spoken, they passed through the wall and stood upon an open country road with fields on either hand. The city had entirely vanished. Not a vestige of it was to be seen. It was a clear, cold winter day with snow upon the ground.
Good heaven! I was bred in this place. I was a boy here.
Your lip is trembling.
Tisn't.
And what is that upon your cheek? Is that a tear?
It's a pimple.
Of course it is. You recollect the way?
Remember it? I could walk it blindfold.
Strange to have forgotten it for so many years. Let us go on.
The school. The deserted school.
Not quite deserted. A solitary child, neglected by his friends, is left there still.
I know it. Poor boy. I wish... But it's too late now.
What is the matter?
Nothing. Nothing. There was a boy singing a Christmas carol at my door last night. I should like to have given him something. That's all.
Let us see another Christmas.
Scrooge's former self grew larger at the words, and the room became a little darker and more dirty.
Oh, Ebenezer, dear brother, dear brother, I've come to bring you home, dear brother, to bring you home.
Home, little Fern.
Yes, home for good and all, home forever and ever. Father is so much kinder than he used to be that home is like heaven. He spoke to me so gently one dear night when I was going to bed that I was not afraid to ask him once more if you might come home. And he said, yes, you should. And he sent me in a coach to bring you. And you're to be a man, and you're to never come back here. But first, we should be together all Christmas long and have the merriest time in the world.
You are quite a woman, little Fern.
Oh yes, I know. Come with me now, dear brother.
That I shall, gladly, with all my heart.
Our next destination awaits. Always a delicate creature whom a breath might have withered. But she had a large heart.
So she had. You're right. I will not gainsay it, Spirit.
She died a woman and had, as I think, children.
One child.
True. Your nephew.
Yes. Fred.
We arrive. This warehouse, do you know it?
Know it? I was apprenticed here.
Yo-ho there! Ebenezer! Dick!
Why, it's old Fezziwig. Bless his heart, Fezziwig alive again. And Dick Wilkins, to be sure. He was very much attached to me, was Dick. Poor Dick, dear.
Yo-ho, my boys! No more work tonight. Christmas Eve, Dick. Christmas, Ebenezer. Let's have the shutters up before a man can say Jack Robinson. Hilly-ho! Clear away, my lads, and let's have lots of room here. Hilly-ho, Dick. Cheer up, Ebenezer.
Clear away! There was nothing they couldn't have cleared away with old Fezziwig looking on. It was done in a minute. Every movable was packed off as if it were dismissed from public life forever, and the warehouse was as snug and warm and dry and as bright as a ballroom. In came a fiddler with a music book and tuned like 50 stomach aches.
In came Mrs. Fezziwig, one vast, substantial smile. In came the three Miss Fezziwigs, beaming and lovable. In came the 6 young followers, whose hearts they broke. In came all the young men and women employed in the business. In came the housemaid with her cousin, the baker. In came the cook with her brother's particular friend, the milkman. In they all came, one after another.
Ha-ha! Whatever do you mean?
I mean, ha-ha! So I do.
Small matter to make these silly folks so full of gratitude.
Small?
Why, is it not? He has spent but a few pounds of your mortal money. 3 or 4, perhaps. Is that so much that he deserves this praise?
It isn't that, Spirit. He has the power to render us happy or unhappy. To make our service light or burdensome, a pleasure or a toil. The happiness he gives is quite as great as if it cost a fortune.
What is the matter?
Nothing. I should like to be able to say a few words to my clerk just now. That's all.
My time grows short. Quick!
This was not addressed to Scrooge or to anyone whom he could see, but it produced an immediate effect, for again Scrooge saw himself. He was older now, a man in the prime of life. He was not alone, but sat by the side of a fair young girl in mourning dress, in whose eyes there were tears, which sparkled in the light that shone out of the ghost of Christmas past.
It matters little, to you very little. Another idol has displaced me, and if it can cheer and comfort you in time to come, as I would have tried to do, I have no just cause to grieve.
What idol has displaced you?
A golden one.
This is the even-handed dealing of the world. There is nothing on which it is so hard as poverty, and there is nothing it professes to condemn with such severity as the pursuit of wealth.
You fear the world too much. I have seen your nobler aspirations fall off one by one until the master passion gain engrosses you. Have I not?
Even if I have grown so much wiser, what then? I am not changed towards you, am I?
Our contract is an old one. It was made when we were both poor and content to be so. You are changed. When it was made, you were another man.
I was a boy.
Your own feeling tells you that you were not what you are. I am. That which promised happiness when we were one in heart is fraught with misery now that we are two. Enough. I shall release you.
Have I ever sought release?
In words? No, never.
In what, then?
In a changed nature, in an altered spirit, in everything that made my love of any worth or value in your sight. If this had never been between us, tell me, would you seek me out and try to win me now? Ah, no.
You think not.
I would gladly think otherwise if I could. If you were free today, can even I believe that you would choose a dowerless girl, you who in your very confidence with her weigh everything by gain? I release you with a full heart, with the love of him you once were.
Speak. Speak!
You may, I dare hope, have pain in this. A very, very brief time, and you will dismiss the recollection of it gladly as an unprofitable dream. May you be happy in the life you have chosen.
Speak! Speak to her! Speak! You fool!
Come.
Spirit, show me no more. Why do you delight to torture me?
One shadow more.
I don't wish to see it. Show me no more.
But the relentless ghost pinioned him in both his arms and forced him to observe. They were in another place, a room, not very large or handsome, but full of comfort.
Near to the fire sat a beautiful young girl, so like the last that Scrooge believed it was the same, until he saw her, now a comely matron sitting opposite her daughter.
The noise in this room was perfectly tumultuous, for there were more children there than Scrooge in his agitated state of mind could count. And unlike the celebrated herd in the poem, there were not 40 children conducting themselves like one, but every child was conducting itself like 40.
Merry Christmas, my darling.
Belle, my love.
Did you secure a proper goose, dear?
Big enough to serve this whole whopping brood for a week.
Wonderful man.
Belle, I saw an old friend of yours this afternoon.
Who was it?
Guess!
How can I? Tut, don't I know? Mr. Scrooge.
Mr. Scrooge it was. I passed his office window, and as it was not shut up, and he had a candle inside, I could scarcely help seeing him. His partner lies upon point of death, I hear, and there he sat, alone, quite alone in the world, I do believe.
Oh, Spirit, remove me from this place.
I told you these were shadows of the things that have been. That they are what they are, do not blame me.
Remove me, I cannot bear it.
He turned upon the ghost, and seeing that it looked upon him with a face in which in some strange way there were fragments of all the faces it had shown him, Scrooge wrestled with it.
Leave me! Take me back! Haunt me no longer!
In the struggle, if that can be called a struggle in which the ghost, with no visible resistance on its own part, was undisturbed by any effort of its adversary, Scrooge observed that its light was burning high and bright. He seized the extinguisher cap, and by a sudden action pressed it down upon its head.
The spirit dropped beneath it so that the extinguisher covered its whole form. Scrooge was conscious of being exhausted, and further, of being in his own bedroom. He gave the cap a parting squeeze and reeled to bed, sinking into a heavy sleep.
1. Another night at 1. But I see nothing. Nothing. Perhaps the ghost shall not appear.
Ebenezer Scrooge!
Well, drat.
Wakey, wakey!
It was his own room, but it had undergone a transformation. The walls and ceiling were so hung with living green that it looked a perfect grove, from every part of which bright gleaming berries glistened.
Heaped upon the floor to form kind of a throne were turkeys, geese, poultry, mince pies, plum puddings, red hot chestnuts, juicy oranges, immense 12th cake, and seething bowls of punch that made the chamber dim with their delicious steam.
In easy state upon this couch there sat a jolly giant, glorious to see, who bore a glowing torch in a shape not unlike Plenty's horn, and held it up high up. It shed its light on Scrooge as he came peeping round the door.
Come in and know me better, man. I am the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me. You have never seen the like of me before.
Never.
Have never walked forth with the younger members of my family, meaning, for I am very young, my elder brothers born in these later years?
I don't think I have. I'm afraid I have not. Have you had many brothers, Spirit?
More than 1,800.
A tremendous family to provide for.
To work, my lad.
Spirit, conduct me. I went forth last night on compulsion, and I learnt a lesson which is working now. Tonight, if you have aught to teach me, let me profit by it.
Touch my robe.
Scrooge did as he was told and held it fast. They stood in the city streets on Christmas morning, where, for the weather was severe, the people made a rough but brisk and not unpleasant kind of music in scraping the snow from the pavement in front of their dwellings and from the tops of their houses, whence it was a mad delight to the boys to see it come plumping down into the road below and splitting into artificial little snowstorms.
But soon the steeples called good people all to church and chapel, and away they came, flocking through the streets in their best clothes and with their gayest faces. And at the same time there emerged from scores of by streets and lanes innumerable people carrying their dinners to their bakers' shops. The sight of these poor revelers appeared to interest the spirit very much, for he stood with Scrooge beside him in a baker's doorway, and taking off the covers as their bearers passed, sprinkled incense on their dinners from his torch.
And it was a very uncommon kind of torch, for once or twice, when there were angry words between some dinner carriers who had jostled each other, he shed a few drops of water on them from it, and their good humour was restored directly. For they said, it was a shame to quarrel on Christmas Day. And so it was.
Is there a peculiar flavour in what you sprinkle from your torch?
There is. My own.
Would it apply to any kind of dinner on this day?
To any kindly given. to a poor one most.
Why to a poor one most?
Because it needs it most.
Spirit, I wonder you, of all the beings in the many worlds about us, should desire to cramp these people's opportunities of innocent enjoyment.
I?
You seek to close these places on the seventh day, and it comes to the same thing.
I seek.
Forgive me if I'm wrong. It has been done in your name, or at least in that of your family.
There are some upon this earth of yours who lay claim to know us, and who do their deeds of passion, pride, ill will, hatred, envy, bigotry, and selfishness in our name, who are as strange to us as if they had never lived. Remember that, and charge their doings on themselves, not us.
I will.
Come. Here we come a-cratchiting among the homes so poor.
And perhaps it was the good spirit's kind, generous, hearty nature, and his sympathy with all poor men, that led him straight to Scrooge's clerk's, for there he went, and stopped to bless Bob Cratchit's dwelling with the sprinkling of his torch.
Help me lay this cloth, Belinda.
Yes, Mother.
Isn't Father's collar elegant upon me, Mother?
You're a wonder of fashion.
We could go walking in the park where I can show it off. Ow!
Stop worrying that potato. You will eat with the rest of us.
Oh, Mother, we could smell the goose cooking as far away as the baker's.
We knew it was ours. We knew it.
What has ever got your father, Ebba? And your brother, Tiny Tim? And Martha? What? Went late last Christmas Day by half an hour?
Here's Martha, Mother.
Here's Mother.
Martha, Mother. Hurrah!
There's such a goose, Martha.
Why, bless your heart alive, my dear. How late you are.
We'd a great deal of work to finish up last night and then had to clear away this morning.
Never mind that you are to come. Sit ye down before the fire and have a warm. Lord bless you.
No.
There's Father coming.
Martha, hide, Martha, hide.
So Martha hid herself, and in came little Bob, the father with his threadbare clothes darned up and brushed to look seasonable, and Tiny Tim upon his shoulder. Alas for Tiny Tim, he bore a little crutch and had his limbs supported by an iron frame.
Why, where's our Martha?
Martha? Oh, she's not coming.
Not coming? Not coming upon Christmas Day?
Father, here I am.
Ah, Martha, my dear.
Come with us, Tim.
Tiny Tim. Come along. Just listen to that pudding.
How did little Tim behave?
As good as gold and better. Somehow he gets thoughtful sitting by himself so much, and thinks the strangest things you ever heard. Tim, tell your mother what you told me on the way home. About the people in church.
What? Oh, that. I just hope the people saw me in the church because I'm a cripple. And it might be pleasant to them to remember upon Christmas Day who made lame beggars walk and blind men see.
Well, by my word, I believe Tiny Tim is growing stronger and heartier every day.
That's it.
There never was such a goose.
I don't believe there ever was such a goose cooked.
It was so tender.
It was so delicious.
It was so large.
It was so cheap.
Here's the pudding, my darling.
Oh, what a wonderful pudding.
It's on fire.
That's how you're supposed to eat it.
You must drink your punch quickly before your throat burns to ashes.
My dear, I regard this as the greatest success you've achieved since our marriage.
Thank you. Though I have my doubts about the flour.
A toast! A toast!
Yes, a toast. A Merry Christmas to us all, my dears. God bless us.
God
bless us.
God bless us, everyone.
Spirit, tell me if Tiny Tim will live.
I see a vacant seat in the poor chimney corner, and a crutch without an owner carefully preserved. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die.
No, no. Oh, no, kind spirit. Say he will be spared.
If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, none other of my race will find him here. What then? If he be like to die, he had better do it and decrease the surplus population.
Oh.
Man, if man you be in heart, forbear that wicked cant until you have discovered what the surplus is and where it is.
Mr. Scrooge.
What's that?
I'll give you Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast.
The founder of feast, indeed. I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon. And I hope he'd have an appetite for it.
My dear, the children, Christmas Day.
It should be Christmas Day. I am sure one drinks the health of such idiots, stingy, hard, undealing man as Mr. Scrooge. You know it, Robert. Nobody knows it better than you do, poor fella.
My dear, Christmas Day.
I drink to his health for your sake, and it is not his. Long live life to him. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to Mr. Scrooge.
To Mr. Scrooge.
Tim?
To Mr. Scrooge. Yeah.
All this time, the chestnuts in the jug went round and round, and by they had a song from Tiny Tim, who sang it very well indeed. There was nothing of high mark in this. They were not a handsome family, and they were not well dressed. Their clothes were scanty, but they were happy, grateful, pleased with one another, and contented with the time. And when they faded and looked happier yet in the bright sprinklings of the Spirit's torch at parting, Scrooge had his eye upon them, and especially on Tiny Tim, until the last.
By this time, it was getting dark, and as Scrooge and the Spirit went along the streets, the brightness of the roaring fires in kitchens, parlors, and all sorts of rooms was wonderful. It was a long night, if it were only a night, but Scrooge had his doubts of this because the holidays appeared to be condensed into the space of time they passed together. It was strange, too, that while Scrooge remained unaltered in his outward form, the ghost grew older, clearly older.
Are spirits' lives so short?
My life upon this globe is very brief. It ends tonight.
Tonight?
Tonight, at midnight. Hark, the time is drawing near.
Forgive me, but I see something strange and not belonging to yourself protruding from your skirts. Is it a foot or a claw?
It might be a claw, for all the flesh there is upon it. Look here.
From the foldings of its robe, it brought two children, wretched, abject, frightful, hideous, miserable. They were a boy and girl, meager, ragged, scowling, wolfish, but prostrate, too, in their humility.
Where graceful youth should have filled their features out, a stale and shriveled hand like that of age had pinched and twisted them and pulled them into shreds. Where angels might have sat enthroned, devils lurked and glared out menacing.
They are very fine. They have a very... Good God! Spirit, are they yours?
They are man, and they cling to me. This boy is ignorance, this girl is want. Beware them both, but most of all beware this boy. For on his brow I see that written which is doom, unless the writing be erased.
Have they no refuge or resource?
Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses?
Spirit, I beg of you, upbraid me no longer with my own words, of which I am heartily ashamed. Spirit? Spirit? Gone.
As the last stroke of the church bell ceased to vibrate, Scrooge lifted up his eyes and beheld a solemn phantom coming towards him like a mist along the ground. The phantom was shrouded in a deep black garment which concealed its head, its face, its form, and left nothing of it visible save one outstretched hand. Its mysterious presence filled him with a solemn dread. The spirit neither spoke nor moved.
I am in the presence of the ghost of Christmas yet to come.
The spirit answered not, but pointed onward with its hand.
You are about to show me shadows of things that have not happened, but will happen in the time before us? Is that so, spirit?
The upper portion of the garment was contracted for an instant in its folds, as if the spirit had inclined its head. That was the only answer he received.
Ghost of the future, I fear you more than any spectre I have seen. But as I know your purpose is to do me good, and as I hope to live to be another man from what I was, I am prepared to bear you company, and do it with a thankful heart. Will you not speak to me? Lead on, spirit.
The phantom moved away. Scrooge followed in the shadow of its dress, which bore him up and carried him along. The city seemed to spring up about them. But there they were, in the heart of it, amongst the merchants. The spirit stopped beside one little knot of businessmen.
No, I don't know much about it either way. I only know he's dead.
Well, old Scratch has got his own at last, eh?
When did he die?
Last night, I believe.
Why? What was the matter with him? I thought he'd never die.
God knows.
What has he done with his money?
I haven't heard. Left it to his company, perhaps. He hasn't left it to me, that's all I know.
It's likely to be a very cheap funeral, for upon my life, I don't know of anybody to go to it. Suppose we make up a party and volunteer.
I don't mind going if a lunch is provided, but I must be fed if I make one.
Well, I'll offer to go if anybody else will. Come to think of it, I'm not at all sure that I wasn't his most particular friend, for we used to stop and speak whenever we met. Bye-bye.
They left the busy scene and went into an obscure part of the town where the whole quarter reeked with crime, with filth, and misery. Far in this den of infamous resort there was a low-browed beetling shop. Sitting in among the wares he dealt in, by a charcoal stove, was a grey-haired rascal who smoked his pipe in all the luxury of calm retirement.
Get out of the way, you
And I'm gonna
crazy
get my
old
money
lady.
that I'm doing. I'm gonna be first. You!
You!
Me!
To what do I owe this raucous vivisection?
Visitation, you old lump, not vivisection!
We shall see about that, Mrs. Dilber. We're all suitable to our calling. We're well matched. Come into the parlor. Come into the parlor.
The parlor was a wretched space behind a screen of rags.
Oh, isn't this lovely then?
I thank ye for the felicitate, Mrs. Pilfner, you old crone.
The night is cold, old Joe, and I have yet 2 bodies to fetch in Camden Town. May we proceed?
Elderody horses, Mr. Gravely, I was here first.
We was all here first.
Yes, but Mrs. Dilber was here first.
Charwoman first, laundry second, undertaker's man brings up the rear. That's the equestrian way.
Equitable, you steaming git.
Do you intend to profit by me this night?
Equestrian. It's not as if we've done wrong. Every person has a right to take care of themselves. He always did. Who's the worse for the loss of a few things like these? Not a dead man, I suppose.
If he wanted to keep him after he was dead, the wicked old screw, why wasn't he natural in his lifetime? If he was, he might have had somebody with him when he was struck with death instead of lying out there gasping out his last by himself.
That ain't very nice.
Did you like him then?
No.
Mrs. Pfenninger, the charwoman, display your wares.
Now, me first. Those corpses won't wait all night.
Sociable plans, have they? A night on the town? What have you got?
A large seal, a small seal, a brooch, 2 sleeve buttons, and this.
There's a pencil.
Yes, unsharpened.
2 crowns and a half.
For the pencil?
For the lot, and I wouldn't give you another 6p if I was to be boiled for not doing it. Who's next?
Here! Sheets, towels, 7 shirts, 2 silver teaspoons, a pair of silver sugar tongs, 3 boots.
3?
I'm keeping 1.
Whatever for?
Never you mind.
No spats? 2 crowns and a half. I always give too much to ladies. It's a weakness of mine, and that's the way I ruin myself.
Open my bundle next, Joe.
Here we go. And bed curtains?
Aye, bed curtains.
You don't mean to say you took 'em down, rings and all, with him lying there?
Aye, and mind you don't spill oil on the blanket.
The blanket as well?
Aye, he isn't likely to take cold without him, I dare say. Ah, you can look through that shirt till your eyes ache. You won't find a single hole. It was the best he had, and a fine one, too. They'd have wasted it if it hadn't been for me.
What do you call wasting of it?
Well, they put it on him to be buried in.
And you?
Stripped it off the old beast. Calico is just as becoming to the body, and he couldn't look any uglier than he did in this one.
Monsters! Hideous monsters!
You were born to make your fortune. Top price for you, Mrs. Pfenninger.
How much, me dearie?
2 crowns and a half. Come, let's give you your portions. Well, this is the end of it, you see. He frightened everyone away from him when he was alive to profit us when he was dead.
Spirit, I see. The case of this unhappy man might be my own. My life tends that way now. Merciful heaven, what is this?
He recoiled in terror, for the scene had changed, and now he almost touched a bare, uncurtained bed, on which there lay a something covered up. The phantom's steady hand was pointed to the head. The cover was so carelessly adjusted that the slightest raising of it would have disclosed the face. There was a sound of gnawing rats beneath the hearthstone. What they wanted in a room of death, and why they were so restless and disturbed, Scrooge dare not to think.
Spirit, this is a fearful place. Let us go.
Still the ghost pointed with an unmoving finger to the head.
I understand you, and I would do it if I could, but I have not the power, Spirit. I have not the power. If there is a person in the town who feels emotion caused by this man's death, show this person to me, Spirit, I beseech you.
The phantom spread its dark robe before him for a moment like a wing, and withdrawing it revealed a room by daylight, where a young couple sat before the fire.
Edward, what news? Is it good or bad?
Bad.
We are quite ruined.
No, there is hope yet, Caroline.
If he relents, there is. Nothing is past hope if such a miracle has happened.
He is past relenting. He is dead.
Oh, thank God, thank God! No, I didn't mean that. The news is... What's the word?
Sad.
Sad. Yes, sad.
It's all right, darling. I felt the same.
To whom will our debt be transferred?
I don't know, but before that time we shall be ready with the money. We may sleep tonight with light hearts, Caroline.
We're saved! We're saved!
Oh, my dear one, thank God he's dead.
No, Spirit, no, please. Let me see some tenderness connected with a death.
The ghost conducted him through several streets familiar to his feet, and as they went along, Scrooge looked here and there to find himself, but nowhere was he to be seen. They entered poor Bob Cratchit's house. Quiet. Very quiet.
I'm sorry to be so late, my dear.
You went today, Robert?
Yes, my dear. I wish you could have gone. It would have done you good to see how green a place it is. But you'll see it often. I promised him that I would walk there on a Sunday. On the way home, I met Mr. Scrooge's nephew in the street. I'd only ever seen him but once, but he stopped me and I was looking just a little down, you know. On which, for he is the pleasantest spoken gentleman you have heard. I am heartily sorry for it, Mr. Cratchit, he said, and heartily sorry for your good wife. By the by, how he even knew that, I don't know.
Don't know what, my dear?
Why, that you were a good wife.
Everyone knows that.
Very well observed, my boy. I hope they do. If I could be of service to you in any way, he said, giving me his card. That's where I live. Pray come to me. It really seemed as if he had known our tiny Tim, and felt with us.
I'm sure he's a good soul.
My dears, however and whenever we part from one another, I am sure we shall none of us forget poor tiny Tim, shall we? Or this first parting that there was among us.
Never, Father.
And I know, my dears, that when we recollect how patient and how mild he was, although he was a little child, we shall not quarrel easily among ourselves, and forget poor tiny Tim in doing it.
Never, Father.
I am very happy. I am very happy.
Spectre, something informs me that our parting moment is at hand. I know it, but I know not how. Tell me what man that was whom we saw lying dead.
The phantom pointed as before, a churchyard. Here then the wretched man, whose name he had now to learn, lay underneath the ground. The spirit stood among the graves and pointed down to one.
Before I draw near to that stone, are these the shadows of things that will be? Or are they the shadows of things that may be? Men's courses foreshadow certain ends, but if the courses be altered, the ends will change. Say it is thus.
Still the ghost pointed downward to the grave by which it stood. Scrooge crept towards the stone, trembling, and read upon the stone of the neglected grave.
Ebenezer Scrooge! Am I the man who lay upon the bed?
The finger pointed from the grave to him and back again.
No, spirit. Oh, no, no, spirit, hear me. I am not the man I was. I will not be the man I must have been. Why show me this if I am past all hope? Good spirit, assure me that I may yet change these shadows you have shown me by an altered life. I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. I will not shut out the lessons that they teach. Oh, tell me I may sponge away the writing on this stone.
In his agony, he caught the spectral hand. The spirit repulsed him. Holding up his hands in a last prayer to have his fate reversed, he saw an alteration in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrunk, collapsed, and dwindled down into a bedpost.
Yes. Yes! And the bedpost was his own. The bed was his own. The room was his own. Best and happiest of all, the time before him was his own, to make amends in.
I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. Oh, Jacob Marley! Oh, heaven and the Christmas time be praised for this! Oh, the bed curtains. They're not torn down. They're not torn down, rings and all. They're here. I am here. The shadows of the things that would have been may be dispelled. They will be. I know they will. I don't know what day of the month it is. I don't know how long I've been among the spirits. I don't know anything. I'm quite a baby. Never mind. I don't care. I'd rather be a baby. Hello! Hello here! The bells. The bells. The bells! You, boy, what's today? What's today, my fine fellow?
Today? Why, Christmas Day.
It's Christmas Day. I had missed it. The spirits have done it all in one night. They can do anything they like. Hello, my fine fellow.
Hello.
Do you know the poulterers in the street next but one at the corner?
I should hope I did.
An intelligent boy. A remarkable boy. Do you know whether they've sold the prize turkey that was hanging up there? Not the little prize turkey. The big one.
One as big as me.
What a delightful boy. It's a pleasure to talk to him. Yes, my buck.
It's hanging there now.
Is it? Go and buy it.
Walker.
No, I am earnest. I'm in earnest. Go and buy it and tell them to bring it here that I may give them direction where to take it. Come back with a man and I'll give you a shilling. Come back with a man in less than 5 minutes, I'll give you half a crown.
Whoosh!
I'll send it to Bob Cratchit's. He shan't know who sends it. It's twice the size of Tiny Tim. Joe Miller never made such a joke as sending it to Bob's will be.
Shaving was not an easy task, for his hand continued to shake very much, and shaving requires attention, even when you don't dance while you are at it.
He dressed himself all in his best, and at last got out into the streets. The people were by this time pouring forth, as he had seen them with the ghost of Christmas present, and Scrooge regarded every one with a delighted smile.
He had not gone far when, coming on towards him, he beheld the gentleman who had walked into his counting house the day before and said, "Scrooge and Marley's, I believe." He knew what path lay straight before him, and he took it.
My dear sir, how do you do? I hope you succeeded yesterday. It was very kind of you. A Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Mr. Scrooge?
Yes, that is my name, and I fear it may not be pleasant to you. Allow me to ask your pardon, and will you have the goodness to accept...
Lord bless me! My dear Mr. Scrooge, are you serious?
If you please. Not a farthing less. A great many back payments are included in it, I assure you. Will you do me that favor?
My dear sir, I don't know what to say to such munificence.
Don't say anything, please. Come and see me. Will you come and see me?
I will.
Thank you. I am much obliged to you. I thank you 50 times. Bless you.
Scrooge went to church and walked about the streets and watched the people hurrying to and fro and patted children on the head and questioned beggars and found that everything could yield him pleasure. He had never dreamed that any walk, that anything could give him so much happiness.
In the afternoon, he turned his steps towards his nephew's house. He passed the door a dozen times before he had the courage to go up and knock. But he made a dash and did it.
Fred!
Why, bless my soul, who's that?
It's I, your Uncle Scrooge. I've come to dinner. Will you let me in? Fred?
Let you in? Try leaving. I am glad with all my heart, Uncle, and I am delighted that Christmas isn't quite such a humbug after all.
Christmas a humbug? What idiot have you been listening to?
Welcome, Uncle. Welcome.
And welcome he was. Wonderful party, wonderful games, wonderful happiness. But he was early at the office the next morning. Oh, he was there early. If he could only be there first and catch Bob Cratchit coming late.
And he did it. Yes, he did. Bob was full 18 minutes and a half behind his time. Scrooge sat with his door wide open that he might see him come into the tank. His hat was off before he opened the door. He was on a stool in a jiffy, driving away with his pen as if he were trying to overtake 9 o'clock.
Hello? What do you mean by coming here at this time of day?
I am very sorry, sir. I am behind my time.
You are? Yes. Yes, I think you are. Step this way, sir, if you please.
It's only once a year, sir. It shall not be repeated. I was making rather merry yesterday, sir.
Now I'll tell you what, my friend. I'm not going to stand for this sort of thing any longer. And therefore I am about to raise your salary.
He's gone mad. He's gone mad. Where's a constable? He's gone mad.
A Merry Christmas, Bob. A merrier Christmas, my good fellow, than I have given you for many a year. I'll raise your salary and endeavor to help you with your struggling family, and we'll discuss your affairs this very afternoon over a Christmas bowl of smoking bishop. Bob, make up the fires and buy another coal scuttle before you dot another I, Bob Cratchit.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And...
Merry Christmas, Bob?
Yes! Merry Christmas, Bob! Oh, no, Mr. Scrooge. Merry Christmas, Mr. Scrooge.
Merry Christmas, Bob Cratchit.
Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father.
He became as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knew, or any good old city, town, or borough in the good old world.
He had no further intercourse with spirits, but lived ever afterwards upon the total abstinence principle. And it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well, if any man alive possessed the knowledge.
May that be truly said of us and all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed,
God bless us, everyone!
This has been the Wheaton drama production of Charles Dickens's A Christmas Carol, adapted and directed by Craig Gustafson, produced by Becca Easley, and sponsored by the Wheaton Fine and Cultural Arts Commission. Costumes by Julie Kanturek and Charmaine Jones. Props by Jody Gosain. Video editing by Andy Kanturek. Our cast included Jean Austen, Stan Austin, Cindy Bolds, Gretchen Gannon, Zach Gibson, Cooper Gosain, Ella Gosain, Margie Gustafson, Dan Hitzemann, Ken Kaden, Karin Kramer, Peter Lemongelli, J. Pauer, Amalia Pfenninger, David Pfenninger, Patty Shaw Kaden, Lars Timpa, Riley Tomes, and me, Krystyn Wells. Thanks for watching, and Merry Christmas!